Is this movie perfect? No, it has some issues. But is it the Superman that we need right now? 1000%. So, James Gunn is back directing another superhero, only this time it's the first in the DCU that is going to be part of James Gunn's vision. Does it live up to the hype? Or are some of those reviews that have said this is a piece of poo accurate? Let's jump in and find out. Superman must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent. As the embodiment of truth, justice, and the human way, he soon finds himself in a world that views these as old-fashioned. I'm not gonna lie, when I heard that David Corenswet was cast as the new Superman, I was like, who? The fact that he's embodied this Superman to such an extent that it reminds me a lot of the Christopher Reeve Superman, I'm very happy with. I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill as Superman. I still believe that Henry Cavill was sidelined and we never really got the Superman film that we wanted from him for that character. Nevertheless, we are here with a new Superman. And I have to say, this film is a lot of fun. It's exactly what you expect from a James Gunn movie.
Ninja Turtle, you better stop poking me.
If you loved Guardians of the Galaxy, you're going to love this film. If you didn't, then I would steer clear, because it does have those fast and frenetic jokes in between the emotional embodiment of what Superman is supposed to be. It's a reflection on society. I've seen a lot of people moaning about, this is just pointing at, the issues that are going on in the world. Yes, Superman was always about that. Way back when, from the comics, this feels very much comic book lore. I took my son to watch this with me, and his quote for his review, if he were to give one, was James Gunn's Superman brings hope and joy to the Man of Steel again. And I think that's just it. That's why people are gonna, I think, love this, regardless of its flaws, and it does have some of those, and I'll get to those in a bit. Seeing this Superman as hope and justice and fighting for the little guy, for every guy, that every person is important. The message of being kind to one another is so important right now. The reflection is just great. And so we hold that up as a card, as a symbolism of what people should be. The writing here is such that it humanizes the character that is Super. Pruitt Taylor Vince plays Jonathan Kent, and it's these interactions that help to cement our character of Superman be so human. Beautiful portrayals really nailed the Kents as the human upbringing. There are shining examples of why this film works with other characters. Eddie Gattei, who plays Mr. Terrific. There's some great action sequences like you'd expect. James Gunn handles action really well. But first and foremost, he does character. And we get a little bit of interesting character. Not much, but some from Mr. Terrific. You kind of get who he is, but his action sequences were amazing. You have Alan Tudyk. You have a number of cast members that will kind of fly by because people don't know that they're even there. But Alan Tudyk, as one of the Firefly cast alumni,
oh dear God in heaven,
being the voice of a robot, nonchalant, funny but not funny, works really well with James Gunn's writing. Then you have Nathan Fillion as a Lantern, also nailing that comedy, dry one-liners that is funny when it needs to be. And I'm saying funny a lot because I think that's one negativity that a lot of people are picking up on. Oh, it's a James Gunn thing. It's going to have a lot of jokes. When we get the emotional moments, the gut punches, it doesn't sit with it. My counter to that would be is that that humans are multifaceted. We are able to feel a number of feelings at the same time. We can be sad, then happy, and then sad, and then exasperated, all in the space of a few seconds. And I think the writing here does a clever balance. And it must have been so tricky to get the scripting right for this movie, which I think it is done for the most part.
Mostly.
Because you have so many characters that are so well known in this universe, you need to have enough time and space to build those characters that are carrying your movie. Obviously, Superman, the Kents, Lois Lane. They all get enough screen time to remind you, oh yeah, this is this character. But because we're placed in a place that's 3 years later, 3 years into the Superman being in a world that has metahumans all over the place, it cements its way at balancing these tricks of this is this person that we need to know a little bit about. We want to give you a little bit of emotion to entangle us with, but we also want you to enjoy the ride. It's not completely Marvel in that way. It does sit with some of those emotional moments. There's great moments, like I mentioned, with Clark and his father and Lois. There's a particular fight, like a dialogue fight scene between him and Lois, because they have different viewpoints, because he's Superman to his Clark Kent are different. And I think it really shows that. So we get to see the human side inside of the Superman character. And when we see the Superman, let's talk about that for a bit. I would say 80 to 90% of the CGI looked fantastic. There are robots being destroyed and Lex Luthor's walking down the hallway and stuff is going around him, and because he's so badass he doesn't flinch at like debris flying everywhere. As far as I can tell, the film doesn't establish that Lex has superpowers as well, except for his brain, who's, you know, he's really smart. So there are things that go wrong with this, and the CGI wasn't one of them. It looked, for the most part, pretty real, except for those kind of moments that I mentioned to you. But the flying as Superman is spectacular. Very, very well done. Puts you in the face of what it feels like to be a Superman.
Buddy, eyes up here.
And then it has reflections at what comic books used to look like. And you could have taken a page from a few of the comics or graphic novels, put them on screen and go, oh, wow, that is beautiful. Such a homage to some of those original greats. Beautiful to look at, fun to watch. Getting back to a couple of the negativities, there's a few characters in here that I didn't think needed to be in the film. Wendell Pierce, who plays Perry White, he's great as Perry White, but we almost could have had a single line of dialogue and not needed him in the movie, because the time that he's on the screen doesn't really push forward the story in any way. It doesn't really, he stands for the guy that we know and have seen and understood to be as part of the law. He has a cigar in his mouth for the majority of the shots that we see him in. But if you took him away from the film, it wouldn't take anything away from the film. Therefore, for me, that feels like padding. You could have had a line or just had one shot of him in the office and it wouldn't have changed anything. And then we have Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. She has some action moments in this and they were fine. But I'm thinking of like the 2 or 3 lines of dialogue she had, and doesn't really bring anything to the table. I feel sad for her. She's a great actress, and I was hoping that we'd have a little bit more. This is where it comes down to the balancing act, and having so many characters on screen and not being able to give time to them. Because what this film is, it's the Superman film, but it's the Superman film inside of a meta-human universe that is well established. So there's things that are meta, superpowered, going on all the time, and Superman isn't always being a part of that. It just so happens that this Superman is in that world. And so I feel like that's part of the writing, where Gunn was trying to show us this is what this world looks like. It's the Justice Gang, not League. Villian, Isabella Merced and Eddie Gathie as this gang, not quite League just yet. It plays with that quite well, but because of this established world, you do wonder if there were too many moving parts. Seeing this movie at a cinema that is full, I think, is part of the experience. The IMAX that I went to was completely full. It was a multimedia screening, and to be in a screening where the British public audibly clap, make noises throughout, not to distract, but in moments that was the right moments to react, was amazing for me to see and hear, because British folk are generally quite reserved. It's generally not done in places like that. I know American audiences seem to do that a lot more, but here we are normally quite reserved. There was a lot of moments in this film when particular characters appeared on screen, or a particular thing did a thing, without doing spoilers, and the visible joy that this film brought to the majority of people in the audience speaks volumes. But this kind of ticks all the boxes of what I needed the Superman to be right now, and is such a great launching pad for the DCU. I can't wait to see what else they do in the future. Let me know, once you've seen it, who are your favorite characters? Do you want me to do a spoiler review? The outstanding character for me, other than Superman, would be Krypto. Krypto was fantastic in this. Embodies everything that is dog and then everything that is super. And putting those things together in a canine unit just adds so much joy on the screen. So if you take anything away from this review, it's that it's joy and hope to the character that needed joy and hope as a reflection of what's going on in the world, but not being preachy. The score is beautifully done with that Superman theme that you know and love, but then also doing its own orchestral pieces. Beautifully done. I'm going to give this 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5. Thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. If you had asked me last night when I came out of the cinema, I would have given it 5 out of 5. But on reflection, thinking about it, putting my critic brain on a bit, yeah, it's got some issues. But did that detract from the story at all? No, not at all. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.